Ayi Kwei Armah. Quotes. Inventor. Alone, I am nothing. I have nothing. We have power. But we will never know it, we will never see it work. Unless we come together to make it work. Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Disgust with injustice may sharpen the desire for justice. Readers who don't a trademark see this connection merely wish to be entertained, and I have neither skill nor desire to turn the agony of a people into entertainment. Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. I did point out that I have no prophetic gifts. I write books because I tried to do something more useful and failed. Since I've been trained to write, I do that as a defense against total despair. And seeing people like you, who are actively engaged in trying to salvage pieces of our wrecked lives, gives me hope that after all we are not alone. The sand looked so beautiful then, so many little individual grains in the light of the night, giving the watcher the childhood feeling of infinite things finally understood, the humiliating feeling of the watcher's nothingness. Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. True, I used to see a lot of hope. I saw men tear down the veils behind which the truth had been hidden. But then the same men, when they have power in their hands at last, began to find the veils useful. They made many more. Life has not changed. Only some people have been growing, becoming different, that is all. After a youth spent fighting the white man, why should not the president discover as he grows older that his real desire has been to be like the white governor himself, to live above all the blackness in the big old slave castle? Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Others devoted to life will surely find that between the creation of life and the destruction of the destroyers there is no difference but a necessary, indispensable connection, that nothing good can be created that does not of its very nature push forward the destruction of the destroyers. Ayi Kwei Armah, 2000 Seasons. There is indeed a great force in the world, a force spiritual and able to shape the physical universe, but that force is not something cut off, not something separate from ourselves. It is the energy in us, the strongest in our working, breathing, thinking together as one people, weakest when we are scattered, confused, broken into individual, unconnected fragments. You have a fullness you need to bring out. It's not an emptiness you need to cover up with things. Ayi Kwei Armah, Fragments. Outrage alternated with a sweaty fear he had never before felt. Something, it seemed to him, was being drained from him, leaving the body feeling like a very dry sponge, very light, completely at the mercy of sly toying gusts of wind. Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Listening to these stories reminded me of the words of the great Ghanaian novelist Ayi Kwei Armah, "4 seasons and seasons and seasons, all our movement has been going against ourself, a journey into our killer trademark S desire. Gloria Steinem, My Life on the Road." Teacher, my wife explained to me, step by step, that life was like a lot of roads, long roads, short roads, wide and narrow, steep and level, all sorts of roads. Next, she let me know that human beings were like so many people driving their cars on all these roads. This was the point at which she told me that those who wanted to get far had to learn to drive fast. And then she asked me what name I would give to people who were afraid to drive fast, or to drive at all. I had no name to give her, but she had not finished. Accidents would happen, she told me, but fear of accidents would never keep men from driving, and Joe Kumson had learned to drive. Ayi Kwei Armah, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Unless, of course, one chose to join the increasing numbers who had decided they were so deep in despair that there was nothing worse to fear in life. These were men who had finally, and so early, so surprisingly early seen enough of something in their own lives and in the lives around them to convince them of the final futility of efforts to break the mean monthly cycle of debt and borrowing, and debt. Ayi Kwei Armah. Born October 28, 1939, age 82. Sekondi Takoradi, Ghana. Occupation writer. Citizenship Ghanaian. Alma mater Columbia University, Harvard University. Notable works: The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, 1968. 2000 Seasons, 1973. Ayi Kwei Armah, born October 28, 1939, is a Ghanaian writer best known for his novels including The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, 1968, 2000 Seasons, 1973, and The Healers, 1978. He is also an essayist, as well as having written poetry, short stories, and books for children. 1. Early life and education. Ayi Kwei Armah was born in the port city of Sekondi Takoradi in Ghana to Fanti-speaking parents, descending on his father's side from a royal family in the Ga Nation. 2. From 1953 to 1958 Armah attended the Prince of Wales's College, now known as Achimota School, and won a scholarship to study in the United States, where he was between 1959 and 1963. 3. He attended Groton School in Groton Ma, and then Harvard University, where he received a degree in sociology. He then moved to Algeria and worked as a translator for the magazine Revolution Africaine. In 1964, he returned to Ghana, where he was a script writer for Ghana Television and later taught English at the Navrongo Secondary School. Between 1967 and 1968, he was editor of Jeune Afrique magazine in Paris. From 1968 to 1970, Armah studied at Columbia University, obtaining his MFA in creative writing. In the 1970s, he worked as a teacher in East Africa, at the College of National Education, Changombe, Tanzania, and at the National University of Lesotho. He subsequently taught at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, Cornell University, and at the University of Wisconsin, Madison. He has lived in Dakar, Senegal, since the 1980s. In the village of Popenguin, about 70 kilometers from Dakar, he established his own publishing house, Per Ank, the African publication collective through which his own books are now available. 5. Beginning his career as a writer in the 1960s, Armah published poems and short stories in the Ghanaian magazine Okumi, and in Harper's Magazine, The Atlantic Monthly, and New African. 6. His first novel, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, was published in 1968, and tells the story of a nameless man who struggles to reconcile himself with the reality of post-independence Ghana. In Fragments, 1970, the protagonist, Bako, is a Bintu, a man who has been to the United States and received his education there. Back in Ghana he is regarded with superstitious awe as a link to the Western lifestyle. Bako's grandmother Nana, a blind seer, stands in living contact with the ancestors. Under the strain of the unfulfilled expectations, Bako finally breaks. As in his first novel, Armah contrasts the two worlds of materialism and moral values, corruption and dreams, two worlds of integrity and social pressure. Why Are We So Blessed? 1972, was set largely in an American university, and focused on a student, Modin Dofu, who has dropped out of Harvard. Disillusioned Modin is torn between independence and Western values. He meets a Portuguese black African named Solo, who has already suffered a mental breakdown, and a white American girl, Amy Rich. Solo, the rejected writer, keeps a diary, which is the substance of the novel. Amy's frigidity and devotion to the revolution leads finally to destruction, when Modin is killed in the desert by OAS revolutionaries. The transatlantic and African slave trades are the subject of Armah's 2000 Seasons, 1973, in which a pluralized communal voice speaks through the history of Africa, its wet and dry seasons, from a period of 1,000 years. Arab and European oppressors are portrayed as predators, destroyers, and zombies. The novel is written in allegorical tone, and shifts from autobiographical and realistic details to philosophical pondering, prophesying a new age. The Healers, 1978, mixed fact and fiction about the fall of the Ashanti Empire. The healers in question are traditional medicine practitioners who see fragmentation as the lethal disease of Africa. Armah remained silent as a novelist for a long period until 1995, when he published Osiris Rising, depicting a radical educational reform group that reinstates ancient Egypt at the center of its curriculum. Belonging to the generation of African writers after Chinua Achebe and Wole Soyinka, Armah has been said to epitomize an era of intense despair. 7. Armah's later work in particular has evoked strong reaction from many critics. While 2000 Seasons has been called dull and verbose, or the product of a philosophy of paranoia, an anti-racist racism, in short, Negritude Reborn. 8. Soyinka has written that Armah's vision frees itself of borrowed philosophies in its search for unifying, harmonizing ideal for a distinctive humanity. 9. As an essayist, Armah has dealt with the identity and predicament of Africa. His main concern is for the creation of a Pan-African agency that will embrace all the diverse cultures and languages of the continent. Armah has called for the adoption of Kiswahili as the continental language. Thank you and be well.